Hello. Good afternoon to those of you who are in my time zone or relatively nearby. And good whatever part of the day it is if you're in a different area of the world than where I am. So welcome to those of you who I see joining now, and continue to just welcome you all as you join. Hi. There's something just like it's like a party, you know. You have this moment where you think like maybe no one will come, and then all the people start to arrive, and it's just really delightful when everybody starts to arrive. That's how I feel right now. Hi, Misha. So, okay. As always, please feel free to bring your comments, bring your questions, bring your own shares in any way that this is relevant to you. And I'd love for this to be, you know, I have the things, of course, that I want to say, but I'd love for this to be a dialogue. So this piece that I really wanted to talk about is so beautifully articulated in a poem by David Whyte. It's called Sweet Darkness, at least pieces of this. And so I actually want to read the poem first. And I don't know where you are and you're watching, but if you have the capacity, like if you're in a place where you could sit and just listen, I really invite you even to close your eyes and just let this wash in, see where it lands for you. The poem is called Sweet Darkness by David Whyte. When your eyes are tired, the world is tired also. When your vision has gone, no part of the world can find you. Time to go into the dark, where the night has eyes to recognize its own. There, you can be sure you are not beyond love. The dark will be your home tonight. The night will give you a horizon further than you can see. You must learn one thing. The world was made to be free in. Give up all other worlds except the one to which you belong. Sometimes it takes darkness and the sweet confinement of your aloneness to learn anything or anyone that does not bring you alive is too small for you. I want to read these parts again, because this is just, the night will give you a horizon further than you can see. You must learn one thing. The world was made to be free in. Give up all other worlds except the one to which you belong. Sometimes it takes darkness and the sweet confinement of your aloneness to learn anything or anyone that does not bring you alive is too small for you. So the place that I most want to speak about this today is in this area, even most specifically really is in the area of intimate and romantic relationship. Although that could definitely extrapolate out just into relationship. And of course, there's many, many places that this could touch. So again, bring in whatever the pieces are that feel really relevant for you in your shares, in your questions. But one of the things that I see so often is that people, when they see they have a habit in relationship, or the way they get into relationships, or the kind of person they get into relationships with, there's like the awareness that comes, like, oh, I see, I do that thing. And it's almost like a kind of hubris, I would say, of the human condition, at least at this point in time, to think as soon as we see it, as soon as we have awareness, we ought to be able to just change it. Like, well, I see my habit, I should be able to break it, or I should be able to make a new one. And I really think that that is sort of misguided and kind of a, I almost want to say prideful. It's like, in some way, you know, you could look at it from one perspective as like, hey, just be a little more gentle with yourself, rather than assuming that as soon as you like, oh yeah, I see, I always choose unavailable men, or like, oh man, I keep picking women who, you know, yell at me like my mom, or okay, well, let's just do it differently. And so on the one side, there is a way I want to say, like, just be a little more gentle with yourself. Like, give yourself a little time to let your body, mind, let your being kind of catch up with your awareness. So everything moves so fast these days, and our awareness moves so fast. And there's more to it than just awareness. And then there is the side, like a little bit, I want to say, like, hey, you know, you're not that special that you can just change like that. That it's really is kind of hubris, and that it's a certain kind of humility that's willing to acknowledge that not only may I or may you have 10, 20, 30, you know, I just turned 40, right? Like maybe have 40 years of building this habit for one reason or another. Like I really do believe that there's a deep, intelligent wisdom of the body, mind, and of the way that we create these, you know, kind of odd little systems we've got going on. And that sometimes we look at them and we think like, well, that's silly, or I don't need that. But I do believe, whether we ever know what the intelligence is or not, I believe there's an intelligence to it. And that it's worth going like, wow, it takes some humility. It's worth having the humility, is what I'll say, to like imagine that if it took me 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 years to build this beautiful little system I've got going, maybe it's going to take longer than a 5-minute insight or a weekend workshop, or you know, even a month of therapy, or like to really find what is the new way. So so yeah, I want to pause for a moment and just welcome. I've seen a bunch of people join, and welcome. I'm building a little bit on this beautiful poem by David Whyte called Sweet Darkness. So whether you go back and listen to me read it, or you go find it on your own, exquisite poem. And as always, I really welcome all of your interaction. I love the interaction, love the dialogue. So welcome. I hope I'm saying your name right, Akashaya. So I'm so glad that this is resonating for you, and I really apologize if I got your name wrong. So I want to look at that first part. So there's this idea that we should be able to just change or shift or choose something different, and really a lot of times it actually takes some time. And that's what called me to this piece of this. Actually, it was the last part that called me first, which is like, sometimes it takes darkness and the sweet confinement of your aloneness to learn. Anything or anyone that does not bring you alive is too small for you. And that's the willingness to actually step back and take time. That it might take time. It might actually take what he's calling the darkness and the sweet confinement. I just love like I love what that conveys, that it's less about like, oh, the way we think of confinement, but the sweet confinement, the willingness to actually be there. And the other piece that I want to put in there is how often, I mean, in my own experience, and then really what I see in both working with people over time, and then just frankly having worked with people in the area of relationship for almost 20 years now, which just, it sounds funny to even be able to say that. I think I'm going to perpetually think of myself as like 31. But that there is this way that it can require something of a reboot. It can require this sweet confinement. It can require our aloneness and really going into that. And there's this, I love this line of give up all the other worlds except the one to which you belong. And to me, that's also this piece that's captured in, especially when we're not in relationship. So again, I'm kind of looking at it in this little microcosm, and there's so many ways to extrapolate this into many, many areas. But I want to look at it in the specificity around romantic and intimate relationship. And when we're not in an intimate relationship, there's really often this way, this unwillingness to truly be there. Right? He says, give up all the other worlds except the one to which you belong. And even often when we think like, yeah, like, no, really I'm like in being single and it fucking sucks. Or, even sometimes like, it's fun and I'm dating. There can often be this like, this way that we're living a little bit outside of it in terms of looking, are you my next partner? Are you my, forever partner? Are you my baby daddy or baby mama? Are you my, there's like this little skipping ahead rather than like, no, it's right here. This exactly here. This is the world to which I belong. And actually letting all those other pieces completely fall away. It's like, just let it fall away. Let's see what Annalise said here. Love the sweet confinement too, retiring in oneself so we can connect with ourself and start making peace and love. It takes time. Yes, I definitely see this way that it can take time. I mean, really, what I love about what you just said there is we're more likely to remember that it can take time to get to know somebody else, and more often willing to forget that it can take time to get to know ourselves. This is a little tangent I'm going to take here, as I am wont to do on these Facebook Lives, but I taught a women's weekend last weekend. And one of the things I gave a piece of homework assignment that was mirror work, and to do 5 minutes of having a conversation for each woman with herself in the mirror, and really a conversation. And one of the pieces that came back the next morning when we were dialoguing about, what happened for the women who did the mirror work, was really this piece of how often we think we know ourselves. And again, this is actually true for all kinds of people that we've known for a very long time, whether they're our family, our parents, our husband or wife, our long-term partners, our best friends forever, that we can really fall into the trap of thinking, yeah, I know them. Like, I've known them for 15 years and I know what they like and I know how they like it and I know how to relate to them and I know what they need. And sometimes we think it consciously, but really the trap is that more often than not, we think it unconsciously. And frankly, the place that we're most often doing that is with ourselves. I know what I like. I know what I like to eat. I know what I like sexually. I know what I like to wear. I know where I like to go. I know what I need in my life. I know, I know me. I've been freaking walking around in my body for 40 years. How could I not know me? And again, I almost want to call this like a hubris, but it's just common. It's just human. Maybe we'll just call it human. But to imagine that just because I've been with me this whole time means that I've actually been paying attention. And not to mention, that I've changed? And have I really taken the time, not only as I've grown in years and I've moved in physical location and I've been in relationships and left them, and I've had children grow in my body and birthed them and raised them, and that I would change and that I might need something new or like something new, or, and so the willingness to actually take the time that you're talking about there, go like, gosh, who are you? What do you need from me now? Or even just today, right? What do you need from me today that might be different? So I'm going to see if I can reel myself back in here. That took me on a little, but this is so relevant. This is so relevant because this is exactly the piece that I want to talk about, where it takes the time to really be willing to go into ourselves. Let go of all the are you my, I think of that children's book, right? Are you my mother? But it's more like, are you my partner? Are you my lover? Are you the one who will, make me feel better? And to allow that actually to fall away. And this line, I actually didn't remember this line until I just read it today. The night will give you a horizon further than you can see. The night will give you a horizon further than you can see. This is I could just stop right here. It feels so exquisite, actually, this idea also of beyond what I can even fathom for myself, that the willingness to go into that night actually will give me a horizon farther than I could see it's just exquisite. Jenna, I know, right? Are you I think of that little bird. The one I always think of is the little bird when it looks up to the crane, and it goes, "Are you my mother?" So this idea again of that it is by going into the dark, and that in the willingness to go into that is then the night will give you a horizon farther than you can see, right? Outside of your own individual mind, that the night can actually give us a horizon. And so this is the space. I mean, one of the ways I've talked about it is this idea of a no-man diet. And that has a certain reference for it has a heteronormative reference for women. But it can be extrapolated for non-heterosexual or queer or gay for women, or again for men, and it doesn't have to just be with women, right? It can actually be extrapolated out. But that's one way, if we were going to look at this very specific reference around the going in and the darkness of the night and letting go of all those other worlds. This is one container that can hold that. And I think I've talked about this before, but in the way that can be a reboot. It's funny, we have these examples now that reference the kind of technology, like the technology we live in. I wonder what we said before we had computers. Because I lived in that era, but I can't remember. If any of you remember, what did we say in the 80s around how to restart something? And we must have had something we needed to restart, but it wasn't a computer, so we didn't have a reboot. So again, I want to look at this in a certain kind of specificity, simply because it actually makes it more tangible, but there is the extrapolation that can happen. But I will say, there's something that I see, especially in women. I see women really put themselves in sometimes frankly dangerous situations, but also just really deeply unsatisfying situations out of what I would call an unwillingness to feel the longing. If I really let go of all the other worlds except the one to which I belong right now, And then I'm left with pure longing. And it becomes this space, I want to look at David Whyte's words again, but it's the giving up all the other worlds except the one to which you belong. And then sometimes it takes darkness and the sweet confinement of your aloneness. Going into the sweet confinement of your aloneness, that is the space of not only just not being in relationship, but actually letting go of all the other worlds, right? No more, are you my mother? Are you my mother? Like going into the darkness and to take that longing and neither repress it. I'm fine. I don't need anyone. I'm whole and complete unto myself. So neither repress like the ache and the longing, nor fulfill it. And this is a key piece. I believe that it is so hard to walk right in that space that's in between, that it's much easier to block out the longing, and we do it in all those ways of like, I'm fine, I'm complete, I'm good, I have a good life. All those things are true. You do. You're whole, you're complete, and you have a beautiful, gorgeous, exquisite life. But there's an energetic, I know you can feel that, right? That's like, I don't need to feel that longing. Or we fill it with food, we fill it with work, we fill it with busyness, we fill it with faux connection on Facebook. What else? I mean, there's a million ways, right? You share your own, right? What's your flavor of the week? How do you? And this other side, which is to not fulfill it, which frankly is so often, I see so often, is actually coming from the same place as the rejection. It's just like, I don't want to feel this longing. It is so uncomfortable. This ache is too much. I don't want to feel it. And so I'll fill it. And I'll pretend that I'm okay with filling it just for this night with this, one night partner, or this person who gives me just enough so that I don't feel the depth of this ache. But it's all in order. It's just like to take the edge off. And it is actually our willingness to neither push that ache away or to jump into fulfilling it, because they're both ways of just not feeling it. And I believe what this poem is speaking to, and truly where I have found the deepest, most profound transformative practice, is in the willingness to stay right there in the midst of feeling it without pushing it away and without fulfilling it, but still longing, still aching, still having a desire and a, like longing. I mean, that's the best word I can really come up with for it. So I want to touch in. I know I saw a bunch of comments come in here. First of all, beautiful. Yeah, people saying reset, do-over, rebirth. I think that's absolutely true. Maybe we didn't really have something that was quite, I guess do-over kind of feels like. I don't know what we reset in the 80s, but I was kind of, I'm still technologically very unsavvy. So Jenna said, despite knowing, believing, and experiencing Rumi's notion of divinity, of that longing, I still avoid it if I can. Yeah, so human. I mean, so human. And frankly, I think this is, there's the importance of doing the big pieces of touching this, right? Like going on retreat or taking, this container I talk of like the no man diet, taking 3 months or 6 months or a year and really doing like the big heavy lifting. And then there's the lifelong practice of like, oh, there it is again. Can I just touch it? And again, really apologies if I'm butchering your name again, but Akshaya. Yes, so hard not to act on it. Yes. So, again, I'm going to speak from the perspective of women because this is where I have come into contact with it most. And I'm sure that men could really speak to where their perspective is on this, but this is my personal experience. And then, I've worked with thousands of women and I see this, and there's this, one of the big ways I see us trick ourselves is around like, well, but I deserve it. Like, why would I, what's the word? It's like limit myself. Why would I deprive myself? And sometimes there's truth in that. And a lot of times what there is just I want to fulfill it. I just want to, I don't want to feel what this feels like to not have this thing. And so I'll fulfill it just a little bit. And then we pretend like, well, I'm just, I don't want to deprive, I'm nourishing myself, or I'm taking care of myself, or I'm not depriving myself anymore. I deserve it. But what we're doing is actually just giving ourselves crumbs. Linda said, Jung said that holding the tension between opposites was where alchemy took place. Yes, absolutely. And this is something I have to say, like, I've been finding in myself a lot, is like pretty much every concept that I'm working with right now, I'm like, it's this and neither, but both. And so it's beautiful. I resonate a lot with Jung. So, Stephen is my uncle, and he says, you're amazing, which is very sweet to hear. Thank you. Annalise said, I don't want to feel, so I fill. Yes, that's a beautiful way to put it. So I'm going to read this poem one more time before I sign off, because I think that there's something that's captured in this that's so exquisite. And again, it's Sweet Darkness by David Whyte. When your eyes are tired, the world is tired also. When your vision has gone, no part of the world can find you. Time to go into the dark, where the night has eyes to recognize its own. There you can be sure you are not beyond love. The dark will be your home tonight. The night will give you a horizon further than you can see. You must learn one thing. The world was made to be free in. Give up all other worlds except the one to which you belong. Sometimes it takes darkness and the sweet confinement of your aloneness to learn anything or anyone that does not bring you alive is too small for you. Reading it again, this line stood out to me. You must learn one thing. You must learn one thing. The world was made to be free in. And to me, this is actually what touches on that piece of where we fill in little ways and often convince ourselves that's where freedom is. Well, I'm giving myself freedom by giving myself these little nuggets. And it's like this intense, kind of exquisite dichotomy that often it is that confinement that's actually where the freedom lies. I hope that makes sense. The freedom of just, I can give myself anything I want all the time is in itself, it's a prison. It's a prison of getting caught in that. And we can actually free ourselves with the willingness to go like, no, I'm going to hold here and feel here. Yes, I feel that way too, Karen, around that poem. I'm so glad that you were able to be here at the end and hear it again. So I'm going to leave here with this little, this nugget, and so grateful as always to those of you who were here live and added your voice to the conversation. It's so exquisite to, and just nourishing. It feels nourishing to get to be in dialogue in this way. And if you're watching the replay, I invite all of your comments as well, and I'll come back. We can have a text dialogue about it. So, yeah, thank you for your attention, whether you're here live or on the replay. Sending you much love and wishing you a wonderful rest of your day. Ciao.